My name is Brenton O'Callaghan, and I'm the Chief Customer Officer here at Avantra, and I'm delighted, as always, to be joined by my good friend and colleague, Tyler Constable, Global Head of Solution Engineering.
Awesome. Thank you, Brenton, and thank you, everyone. We are thrilled to have you, whether you're here with us in person or joining us virtually from all over the globe.
And we do mean from all over the globe. We were just looking backstage before we came out, and we have people logged on in Australia, in the East Coast, the West Coast of the US. This really is a global event.
Yeah, and the cool thing about it is we're actually here in the beautiful Black Forest, which is minutes away from the Switzerland, France, and Germany border, right where Avantra was first started 22 years ago in Basel, Switzerland.
I love that, 22 years. Do you know what's even better than this? Is that sitting in this room today, we have customers who've been with us from the very, very start. And that is so humbling for us as a company to be joined by you today. And we're going to be hearing from two of those customers, well, not just from here in Switzerland, but from across the globe. We're going to be hearing two fantastic customer stories about what they're doing in SAP operations. We're also going to hear from myself and Bernd Engest about the future of Avantra, Avantra 24, and maybe some of the surprises as well. And then finally, of course, we're going to hear from our CEO, John Appleby, as well, to give us an update on the state of the nation.
Yeah, we truly do have a packed schedule, but I want to take a minute here, just real quick, to pause and thank our sponsor and partner, Red Hat, who's going to join us up here on stage a little bit later for a panel discussion to talk about the future of SAP and IT operations.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And remember, the aim with this summit is to take the innovators and the leaders in this room and digitally at home and hear from you. Where is this industry going? What should we be doing? And we at Avantra, we're listening because we're your partner in this. We're going to be right beside you, bringing Avantra to help you be the best you absolutely can be.
Yeah, it's a good point. So actually, during this panel discussion, we want to get as many questions from you, the audience. So at that point in time, for those of us here in the studio, we're going to have a microphone that'll be passed around to help, for anyone that wants to help answer a question or ask a question. You can answer one too if you want. And then anyone virtually can put it in the chat whenever you'd like. Feel free to start putting those in right now, and we'll get to as many of them as we can.
Absolutely. Anything we don't get to, we'll follow up with afterwards. Now, I think you've actually heard enough from myself and from Tyler, so let's get on with our agenda. So with no further ado, I'm delighted to welcome to the stage John Appleby, CEO of Avantra. John. Welcome, John.
Hey, Brenton, how we doing?
Good seeing you, John.
Thanks, Tyler. I'll catch you guys later. Wow. Oh, I've got to remember how to use this thing. There we go. I am thrilled to invite you guys and to welcome you for our first in-person summit. It's our biggest summit ever. I believe there are people from 27 countries, is what I heard, and 20 industries, including most of the service providers in the world by this point. And I'm absolutely thrilled to have you here in the Black Forest. Thank you so much for coming. I want to take a little stroll down memory lane. I see from the gray hair that probably some of us go back a lot further than this, but I'm just going to go back to 2015 when SAP released S/4HANA. And at that time, the 2027 deadline, I think it was 23 at the time, but what became the 2027 deadline seemed like a very long way away. And then COVID came, and there was suddenly an enormous demand for business transformation services. And all of these businesses that had been, brick and mortar and doing analog business for so many years realized that they had to modernize and update. And virtually every business in the world has been running like crazy to do business transformation in the meantime. And then to add to that, we have the pressures from Wall Street, which are driving up profitability amongst the world's largest companies, and that means driving costs down as well as driving prices up. And I sort of feel like, we all lost track a little bit of that 2027 deadline. And two things changed. And one is that 2027 is now within the budget cycle of most large organizations doing three to 5 year budget plans. And the second thing is that Rise with SAP changes the equation a little bit, because do you want to do two pieces of transformation, of IT transformation, or do you want to do just one? And I'll hold that for a little while. The point I'm trying to make is that you need to decide now what your plan is going to be. You don't necessarily need to do it now, but there's good news. The good news is that you've got choices. You've actually got more choices than you've ever had before. You've got 3 amazing hyperscalers with Google, Microsoft, and Amazon in no particular order, who have all got phenomenal offerings for IT transformation and S/4HANA. You've got SAP Rise. There are on-premise options. In fact, I'm talking to more and more CIOs who are saying, actually, for our business, we've done the math, we've run the numbers, and it makes much more sense for us to move back on-premise. And so we're seeing people buying these big IBM and HP big iron boxes like in the good old days. You could also go somewhere else. I implemented SAP ERP Business Suite at our former business. And I think if we were reaching in that particular business the 2027 deadline, we'd probably say, do you know what, we're not going to move to S4, we're going to move to something else. We might move to Grow with SAP or maybe Business One, I don't know. You'd have to think about that. The point being is that there are so many options to choose from, and you need to choose the one that is right for your business. To add to that, SAP has a pretty rich history of not leaving customers out to dry. In fact, I was talking to somebody at SAP in Waldorf this week, and we were talking about R2. You know, there are still R2 systems from the 70s out there, and those systems, they're not used for any major purpose. They're used for data archiving, retrieval for audit purposes. But the point is that these systems are still out there, and they chose not to modernize that system because for whatever business reason, they were sunsetting it. So, you know, as you're budgeting for 24, 5, 6, and 7, you need to think about what your choices are going to be. You can consider extended maintenance. They're going to extend through 2030, I believe. And even beyond that, you can have customer-specific maintenance. Customers, you know, can run those systems for as long as they need to, if that's what's right for their business. And only in one situation, in my opinion, which is where you have a system which is going to be sunsetted beyond in a short enough timeline. There are options for either not having maintenance or doing third-party maintenance. I'm not personally a believer in that for systems that have real productive business use. But if you've got a business unit which is in decline and you plan to shut it down, then you may just not want to invest at all. Moving on from that, one of the things that we're really proud at Avantra is our culture of inclusivity. We have now 30% women, up from like under 5% when I joined 3 years ago, and people from 15 different countries. We're only 70 employees, but there are 15 different nationalities. And we have a value of caring, which is about celebrating your whole self and bringing your whole self to work. And what that does is that creates more diverse teams, and more diverse teams deliver better business results. It's proven, it's a thing. And we bring the same attitude to our software. We have customers that run unbelievably old versions of SAP. We've got, I see someone's laughing, we've got customers running HP Unix, OSF1, if anyone remembers that. Anyone remember OSF1? People are nodding. And even, I do judge this a little bit, I found a Windows NT system out there somewhere. So, but anyway, customers running R3 4.6c, we've got a bunch of those from 2003, was it? And you can still run the latest version of Avantra, although not all functionality is available on those oldest versions. And I don't think you believe this, but there are 24,000 different platform combinations across the Avantra install base, 24,000 combinations. That's not the theoretical number, that's the number that we actually have running at customers. So the diversity in our install base is enormous. But we also run the newest S/4HANA 2022 and soon I believe they're releasing in October, S/4HANA 2023. They took the same naming convention as us. We support SAP RISE, and BTP, and the SAP SaaS offerings. And customers have all of this. They have the legacy sitting next and integrated into the leading edge. And those different business applications have different support requirements. One size does not fit all. And our message is to you, our job is not to judge your business strategy, which will drive your IT strategy. Our job is to support you, and whatever your choices are, whether you want to stay on-premise and stay on the version that you're on, whether you want to move to RISE or a hyperscaler, whatever your choice is, we'll support you with that, and we won't leave you behind. Whilst we're on the RISE topic, I have heard, we've had a couple of conversations with the customers, and they're like, do we really need Avantra when we move to RISE? And I said, well, you've got to make that decision for yourself. But what we find is that then they get the 146-page, anyone read it, RACI document for RISE? 146 pages long of roles and responsibilities. And they soon realize they need Avantra more than ever. And as I see someone laughing in the audience because he knows we had that exact conversation this week with a customer who came to the realization that now more than ever, they need a platform which can not only help them manage their environment, but help them manage their relationships and have better relationships with suppliers. And I want to go back in history again for a short while. I've been here in Avantra for 3 years now. When I joined, we were 20 people doing monitoring automation. And at that time in 2020, we created a vision to be the number one in SAP observability and AIOps. While the work is never done, and particularly I'm sure Bernd would agree, he was in the audience yesterday laughing at me, but the work is never done, but we are there, and we are number one. We've got more systems under management than any other platform like it. We support more platforms and applications. Today it's 24,000. By the end of the year, there'll probably be 25,000 different combinations. We're more secure than anyone else, but we are not complacent. Believe me, we just upgraded to ISO 27001 2023 before anyone else, actually so early that the auditors are also scrambling to have themselves be certified because they have to certify to do the inspections. And we pen test every new version of our product when it comes out. And we just completed that last week, actually. We got through that. It's always a little bit stressful. And we encourage our customers to do the same. If they find things, we fix them. Simple as that. Some of the very, very large companies in the world have very sophisticated pen testing teams, and we take their advice very seriously. Anyway, in this last 3 years, the product development team is 3 times bigger than it was, and we are super proud to be Avantra today. So what's next? Well, Bernd and Brenton will show you the details of Avantra 24. So I've threatened to, but I'm not going to steal their thunder. I'll let them tell you the story there. But let's talk a little bit about the long-range plan. And, beyond more observability and automation use cases, for example, one of our number one requests is data masking. That's something we're looking at. That's a given. Beyond more investment in product engineering, we're just going through our long-range planning for that and ramping that up for next year. That's a given. Beyond scaling the product so we can run on tens and even hundreds of thousands of systems in future, that's a given. We'll continue to work on that. When I moved here, the biggest customer I think had sort of 500 or 600 systems under management. I think the biggest is well into 5 digits now. the market has consolidated with service providers in particular, and they have massive amounts of systems under management. But that's a given. But in addition to that, we're going to go up the stack. And the reason for that is that SAP RISE is increasing and brings even more enterprise application architecture complexity. You know, one example I can give you, it's a almost banal example, but it's in my opinion, is a good one. And I was working for a very large business trying to get a healthcare benefit. And I couldn't get it to go through, and it wasn't working. And so I had to raise an HR ticket. Well, HR then raised an IT ticket. And it turned out that my date of birth had been entered wrong, and it had been corrected. And there was a piece of middleware, and its only job was to update personal information from the SAP Central Employee Management System out to SuccessFactors. Aetna, the healthcare provider, was syncing with SuccessFactors. Because that piece of middleware had broken weeks before, I was then unable to get some prescription or whatever it was at that point in time. And that's absolutely insane. If you think about the kind of businesses that run SAP, the kind of business processes that run on that, order to cash is you know, the classic one, but you've got hire to retire, you've got procure to pay, and other industry-specific processes. But it's totally unacceptable if hire to retire or OTC is not running. So you need to know what are the components within that, what are the interfaces, what is the status of those, what's the cause of the problem, and then what's the solution? How do we automate, not only to the extent that we can, root cause analysis, but also problem resolution? How do we give the troubleshooters, some of which are in this room, better tools, more powerful tools to diagnose and then automate, potentially en masse, the repair? And I was chatting with this with a service provider, and he's watching, he knows who he is. And he said, I don't know that that's really relevant. He said, maybe some large enterprises, maybe they need this, but I don't know how it relates to our business. And I took the feedback and I listened. And I woke up the next day and I thought, do you know what, that's not right. And the reason is that we're not just IT people, ITOps people, whatever we want to call ourselves, basis engineers, whatever label you give yourself. We are people that keep the business running. And it's incumbent upon us to go up into the business layer to understand. We need to understand, is order to cash running? And if it's not, we need to know before we get the phone call. One of my customers was a prospect at the time. He said, the problem that I want to fix, he said, I don't like getting called by the CFO to tell me that finance is down. He's like, that really upsets me. He's like, I'd like to know 5 minutes before him. If I knew when he picked up, when I got the call, I knew that would be better than the situation I'm in right now. That's a low bar, by the way. It's incumbent upon all of us to go up the stack and think about the business, because we're not just ITOps people, we support the business. That's inevitably going to take us into other business applications. Our number 2 ask from customers, probably, these are no particular order, but one of the big asks is better support for SAP business applications, particularly BTP, but also the SaaS applications, from the S4 public cloud to Ariba SuccessFactors. And we've been working with SAP to get better interfaces to get information. We're starting to prepare our platform for localization. This guy here. And while we're not going to put a firm timeline at this point for new languages, we've got work to do. One of the big asks we get now is for language support, as we're getting out into more teams that are local in other places. And so localization is in the longer term plan. And lastly, we're investing in something new, but I promised Bernd that I wasn't going to steal his thunder. So if you want to know about that, you'll have to stay. So now it's time for the main event and to learn more about what's coming this year in Avantra 24 and beyond. Hopefully you learned why I'm so excited to be at Avantra, and we are going to continue to lead the SAP AIOps platform, and we are absolutely thrilled to have you on the journey. Thank you so much. Oh, there you are.
Well done, John. Thank you. Awesome. Thank you, John. That was an absolutely fantastic tour of where we've come from. And it's just great to hear how things have changed over the past 3 years and to get that glimpse into our strategy and where we're taking the company next. But now I want to hear from real customers, because that's where we're here today. We're here to hear from each other and to hear how the industry leaders are taking this forward. And so we're going to have our first customer segment now, and I'm delighted to welcome to the stage Avantra's CTO, Bernd Engest. Bernd.
Hello, Brenton. Good to be here.
Absolutely.
Good to see you all.
I believe you have a fantastic customer segment for us, so I'm going to hand it over to you. Good luck.
Yeah, I'm very pleased to announce an old colleague of mine. So we worked together some years ago. Matthias Lang, head of SAP from UMB. Please join me on stage. Matthias, so great to see you here again.
Thanks for being here. Thanks a lot, Bernd.
Oh.
You want to see that?
I really like your shirt. For the non-German speakers, it means time for. That means we are bringing you time with Avantra, right? And give us a little bit back now.
That's our message. That's our message. Creating time for our customer and for us itself.
Okay. Please, Matthias, take a seat. Yeah, it's been quite a long time ago, right? Over 20 years, 25 actually, when we've been working together at Roche pharmaceutical company. I was a very young technical consultant, and I was thinking, Matthias already quite experienced at that time.
That's true. That was the time that I moved from Roche Vitamin to Roche Pharma. You worked already there. And now we sit here together like Waldorf and Stadler in the Muppet Show. And that time, I can remember, it was easy. You started with creating sexy tools and scripts so that we have to bring down the monkey work a little bit. It was really, really a nice time for that.
Yeah, at this time, you got mails to import transport number XY to the system, right? And yeah, as you say, I got annoyed by it, so I started to writing scripts so that they could do it themselves. That was quite nice, yeah. Yeah, when doing 3 times the same, it started to get it annoys us all at Avantra, then automating it, of course. That's true. Now, UMB, Matthias, you're doing quite well at UMB, because I hear you've been enterprise, or employer of the year several times in a row in Switzerland.
True, Bernd, true. What you are talking is a great place to work. We managed that we was the first or the best employer in Switzerland 5 times in follow, and the last time also in Europe. That's really a message, and that's the reason why we are so motivated under the pressure.
Wow, and who selects you as best employer in Europe? What's the process?
The process is we have to collect a couple of questions. We have to give the information. We have, of course, it's a simple question. You don't need a letter from the doctor. Everybody has a table that goes up and down. We have to look to the employee, and I guess that's the most important part.
Okay, and you're around 1,000 people now, right?
Today we have it's important. Maybe you know that. UMB is now a daughter from Berner Kraftwerke, so BKW, and we have at the moment nearly 1,000 employees. That's a huge number, and important is. I forgot now.
In the SAP space, you are 30
So
people,
my
right?
team,
Your space, head of SAP at UMB?
Yeah. My team is now around 30 persons, and together we have 500 years sub-experience and much more in the IT environment. So the team, it's really a cool team on 3 locations. This is what we have today.
Perfect. So let us continue to talk a little bit about Avantra at UMB, right? For how long are you running Avantra now?
Avantra is running in the environment of the UMB since 2016. So UMB ordered or bought a company, it's called Coast. We started for the first time into the area SAP with a couple of customers. And it was the basic monitoring implemented, nothing more. In 2019, it was the team coming from my company, the New Vision Consulting GmbH, and we grew up to 35 customers. And we bought also the monitoring from that area. And on that time was then the question, which one is the right monitoring tool? It took around 2 years for changing the strategy that we are going to Avantra, did the rollout, and now we have around 2.5, nearly 3 years collected the experience in that area, and we are going now, I think, into the next area to earn also the benefits of the automation. So that's the next wave that we are going to that way.
Okay, so that's great. You started with monitoring as basically a lot of our customers. Meanwhile, we have as well customers who buy us because of the automation piece, right? I always like both together, I think. Both is automation. Now, how would you describe does Avantra help you run efficiently and securely? I mean, efficiency is important nowadays, right? You have, let's call it in Switzerland, quite expensive labor force. Yeah, and what's the business value you have with Avantra?
Okay, what I can say is, for us it's important that the Avantra monitoring is the central component in our environment. So it starts the escalation process, and it gives up the information of the overview from the system, from each customer. We use the system copy more and more, so we go far away from the hands-on session, start the script, make other works during the runtime, and the quality at the end, it's always the same because it's a script behind. It's already implemented, and we go more and more to implement this. The second one is the security nodes. Here we provide the information also to the customer. So it's not only the basic stuff for us interesting, it's also the additional information, the benefit for the customer to share the information and to be sure that they start also to implement the security nodes, not only sub part, it's also the application part. And the most important part that we earned a lot of hours today is the SLA report.
Okay.
What we did, we did the configuration of the report, which KPI is in the report. This was on our standard, and we did then the rollout of them. And today, it's easy to schedule a job in Avantra, to have the PDF form. For us, it's more. We implemented this as a full process, and each file is at the end on the SharePoint of the customer side on the right place. So nobody is typing one finger in this process. It's automated, and I will say we save in a month around 60 hours for only this little part. And of course, we don't forget the kernel upgrade. That's important. It's easy to schedule the kernel upgrade, and the system creates and reports back the information system is up and running.
Okay, so if I summarize it, Avantra brings as well a lot of, let's call it, transparency for your customers, right? So that's really great feedback for us. Yeah, I hear as well the hot news, security news is quite important for you, right? So you tell your customers, and you can go prepared in these conversations your staff members have, so your service staff members have with your customers, right?
Yeah. That's true. Before we did this with Avantra, it was one person has a job to evaluate and select all the necessary nodes, which kind of hard work this can be.
Yeah.
At the end, is this node not relevant because the infrastructure is not fitting the situation? Today, it's completely automated. We send out the report. We share this report with the customer. And what we have to organize is, at that point, only the time for implementing the node or a patch set or whatever. Depends of the content of the nodes.
Okay. Let us talk a little bit about the integrations you've got, right? It's all everywhere the same. I would say 100% of our customers have integrated to some sort of ITSM, ITOM solution. So especially at managed service providers, that's quite important. But all our enterprise customers have this as well. Let us talk a little bit about the integrations you've got. So where does Avantra send data to in your environment?
For us, it was important that we goes transparent into the customer. That means each warning or critical message opens a ticket in Avantra, and sometimes we get a warning, and 5 minutes later it's closed, and this information is in the ticket, and the ticket is then also automatically closed. Okay. The benefit of them is that we can give all the nice reports out of ServiceNow to the customer. That helps the service delivery manager and makes both sides really happy on that side.
And you're actually using several ServiceNow integrations, one to your own and one into a client, a client instance of ServiceNow, right?
We implemented this multiple ServiceNow connection. That's true. One of ours, of course, and one of the customer side, especially for the information business job monitoring. So this is not interesting for us on the basic side, but it's for the customer helping, and he needs the information, and there is also as well in their own ServiceNow database reported.
Okay. Would you say you live from new customers, you want to win new customers, that this would give you a competitive advantage for your business?
I think yes, it is. This is a benefit that we give the customer, and they are really happy about them and can provide internally also other service to the employees internally.
Okay. Maybe one last question I want to. One time you showed me this, and I really liked it a lot, so I need to ask about it. You as well allow your customers to run certain automations, don't you?
We do that. It is a really nice situation. The problem was this special customer started with a lot of development in the Java environment. Why ever? This developer guy needs a lot of restarts of the system. Before we told if we are doing it 2 times, 3 times, we think then to make the automation out of them. The situation is this customer has the dashboard, and it was easy to activate this single button to restart some development systems. And today it's
very cool.
The situation he is going to that button, press the system. We get the message that the system is going into the maintenance, makes the restart, then was the learning. We have to wait 13 seconds, something like that. And the system is going in the startup process, system is checked and going into the normal business process. that helps in this case. Before, it was a lot of communication. When can we start the system, create manually the maintenance? And this is automated. It is the one single button and nothing more. And this is really nice. And this guy likes, of course, because he is not in the situation that he has to wait for this single service.
Okay, perfect. One last question, Matthias. You heard the announcement from SAP CEO Christian Klein, right?
Yeah.
About innovations will only be available, or future innovations, let's call it like this, will only be available for customers with a RISE contract, right? What would you say, how does this affect your business?
First of all, it's not an easy question. And I will split them the first time on a personal side, so my personal feeling. And this is, I cannot understand this producer rips off the partner's business, basically. This is from the ethic point of view, not a clear solution. The other point is, I'm happy that I have the company in Switzerland. We have a lot of customers. They are still interested on the on-prem solution. We are flexible on that side. We bring the support. We have the Hey Joe. They like to take up the phone and say, Hey Joe, can we? And we make everything possible. And the last point maybe is that the innovation part. It's clear SAP is going to the cloud and say you get all the innovation on that channel. It's not true today. You can also buy this kind of innovation for other producer, and can you buy a license for an add-on and earn on that side as well improvements.
Yeah, so basically saying SAP customers have more options these days,
absolutely,
right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you
today, Matthias. Was
Bernd,
really appreciate your time, and I can tell you, we at Avantra will try our very best to give you some time back with maybe some features in our latest release. We will see a little later.
Okay, cool.
Bernd, Matthias, it's a
Thank
pleasure.
you, Tyler.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Yeah.
All right, everyone. At this point in time, I would like to introduce the Vice President of Infrastructure Operations and Services from Scott's Miracle-Gro, Emily Wall. Hey, Emily.
Hey.
You see it. All right, so Vice President of Infrastructure Operations and Services. Maybe you go into a little bit about what does that mean?
Yeah, at Scott's Miracle-Gro, I lead a diverse team in the US and Mexico and some third-party support in India, supporting 5 different pillars within the infrastructure organization. First, SAP basis, obviously. And I have networking operations, so all things global network across our footprint. I lead the associate productivity team, so all things Google Suite, end user compute, as well as service management. So we manage the service desk for all level 1 support for our associates to call into, and all best practices, obviously, within the ServiceNow platform. And then last but not least, the AWS cloud support team. So all of our compute, we're about 98% in AWS with our servers, so managing the footprint there.
So you're a little busy.
A little bit busy.
A little busy.
Yeah.
So a lot of us know Scott's Miracle-Gro as a lawn, seed, and fertilizer company, but there's a lot more to it, correct?
Yeah. Scott's Miracle-Gro has been around for 155 years, and we are a vertically integrated manufacturing a business with a deep capabilities within supply chain. And we have around 13 business units, and we're serving business to business and direct to consumer through our different channels. So when you think of Scott's Miracle-Gro, a lot of people look at it as just lawn and ferts, but it is much more. We have controls, which is our brands around like Ortho, Tomcat, Roundup, and then we also have our Hawthorne business, and that's we're providing technology and growing media for cannabis growers across the globe.
Sure. So while you are a consumer brand, who really are your initial customers?
So our business-to-business is really the large big box when you think about it. So Lowe's, Home Depot, Walmart, Tractor Supply. And then the direct-to-consumer really is around our retailer sites or our internal Scotts branded sites, in addition to Amazon. So we transact through Amazon to hit a lot of those millennial users that don't go to those big box stores.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And then primarily B2B on our Hawthorne business, hitting that technology support as well as the growing media side of things.
Excellent. So given all of that and the 13 verticals of business you talked about earlier, I assume the importance of business data is critical in your organization.
Yeah, I think data is critical anywhere these days. But in the last 4 years at Scotts, we've been going through a digital transformation. We've been focusing on building out a really robust data lake. In there, we have all of, like, the microeconomics. We have our marketing spend investments, and then we track that against our point of sale. So how are we doing in total across all of our different channels? And when you think about Scotts, we're seasonal, so it might be different weather in Texas versus Ohio. So we're really tracking all the weather coming in. When do we run those promotions? When do we not? I think we're consuming around 3 billion rows a week in data. So our data lake's very sophisticated in what we're taking out and how we're, projecting back to the business where we believe they should be investing to hit the most of our consumers.
Okay, yeah, seriously, I think that's absolutely incredible. That's fantastic. But I guess the question is, what does that mean to your team? That's got to be a lot of stress. Like, what does that put onto you?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the system uptime is critical, so that data is coming in real time, and we can make business decisions based on it. So we have been obviously partnering with you guys on the monitoring solution there, so that we can be proactive in what we're tracking against to make sure that we are providing that value back to the business.
Excellent. So yeah, I was going to ask, when it comes to the health of these systems, obviously they're very dire. What kind of observability is your team utilizing to manage the health of these environments?
Yeah, so with Avantra, we've been on this journey, right, of getting all of our monitoring through there. And we started out manual, and that looked like a lot of time spent from the team. We actually had a situation where we left because of the manual monitoring, and within an hour, we had a system issue. But since it was manual, we went home and came back the next day and found out the business was down for several hours. So not good. And as we looked for a solution for that, we partnered with you guys as that solution. And we were managing around 500 incidents a month, and we're down to just 30, focusing on what really matters. So when those come in, we know we have an issue versus sorting through all these incidents. So it's real-time integrated with ServiceNow, gives us the ability to stop worrying about the care and feeding of the systems and really focus on being proactive and delivering different value to the business based on, the business needs outside of maintenance.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. I want to shift gears a little bit here. So earlier on, you were talking about the importance of the data you have in your business. Mm-hmm. And you guys are obviously a very tech-focused company. Typically, tech-focused companies really rely on good testing. So how is Scotts Miracle-Gro making sure that proper testing is being done with proper data?
Well, at Scotts, they want it all the time, which is great and fine. So once a month, we're updating our QA environments from the production data. And it was taking us around 3 days to do that. And it was an outage to the system as we were going through that process, so the business wasn't able to test during that time. And through our journey with you guys in Avantra, we have taken that 3 days down to just 4 hours. So we do the pre and post checks with Avantra, and then we're doing HANA replication for the in-between there. So really decreasing that time that the systems are not available has been a great benefit to the business in that constant testing.
Cool. I want to dive a little bit more deeper into that automation. So I guess from the team's perspective, how have they embraced an automation-first approach?
Yeah, they love it because, all of us engineers don't want to spend time maintaining and patching and all that. We want to do fun, new things. So really using Avantra to do all the monitoring for us, the QA refreshes. We've done hotfix vulnerability, care and feeding, and then we're looking into the kernel patching and the patching with Avantra as well as a future engagement.
Yeah, okay, so it seems to make sense. So if I'm understanding correctly, you're able to, by putting the automation, like an automation-first strategy in place, you're able to focus more on the business-critical initiatives. So I guess if you take that a little bit bigger picture, what does that mean to the business itself?
Yeah, I kind of go back to the hands-off keyboards, let Avantra do the monitoring and react when we have to, allows them to work on the more strategic initiatives for the business. So we're doing a lot more focus around what does it mean for S/4HANA for Scots, and what is that transition going to look like? So partnering with our business teams to get that right, as there will be a little bit of change on their end, maybe a lot of it in some areas, as well as things like TMS rollouts and other additional capabilities that they don't have today that will now be able to deliver quicker because we don't have the team consuming time in the monitoring side of system updates, things. We're letting the automation take care of that and let the people focus on the fun stuff.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Emily. I think we can all say this was absolutely fantastic, and thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
All right, and at this point in time, I would like to welcome Brenton O'Callaghan back to the stage along with Bernd Engest, our CTO.
Tyler, that was an awesome session. Thank you very much. So Tyler's absolutely right. It's time for us now to move on from two absolutely fantastic, I think you'll agree, stories. Can we give one more round of applause, please, for our customer speakers? I think that was absolutely fantastic. But it's time now for us to move to more real things, actually getting into the product. So the next segment is one of my favorite segments that we do as part of the Avantra Summit, and it is to show you what's coming next for Avantra. I can't do this on my own, so I'm going to bring on Bernd Engest, CTO of Avantra, once again. Welcome back, Bernd.
Welcome back, Brenton.
And you said no shaking hands, so we're going to shake hands.
We do it anyway, right? Product time.
It is product time.
Let's talk about product. Yeah, so our latest release was just released a few weeks ago, Avantra 23.3, right? Mm-hmm. And this will be the last minor upgrade in our series of 23 releases. And we're going to not talk.
No, we won't dwell on the past, but suffice to say it is available from the usual places, hub.avantra.com.
Correct.
You know where to get the downloads, that's where you'll get it from.
But we have one number to share, and this is really such a great number. I really like this a lot. Incredible 91% of all our customers are on the latest 23 release. That's really great.
It's a humbling statistic.
Yeah, so
really is.
Thank you all my customers for your confidence in our product.
But it's time to talk about Avantra 24. Let's move forward.
Let's move on. Right?
It's available tomorrow, right?
No, not yet, not yet. Otherwise, a few people here in this audience will start having a little bit cold sweat.
That's okay.
Okay, so Avantra 24 will continue the journey we are on with automation, of course, right? The journey which began several years ago with a kernel upgrade. Yeah, we released this one, and since then we have been releasing more and more really sophisticated workflow templates. Our flagship, of course, the SAP System Refresh, and other for spam patching, transporting,
user create, update,
delete. So this is all available now today, right? So this already helps a lot for our clients, our customers to maintain their security, the business continuity, and of course the quality of their SAP operations. Once automated, they benefit so much of this.
It's like
that's the feedback we get.
You and Matthias with the creating time.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah, this is really cool. And today we've got some really cool, exciting new features.
Well, let's stop talking and let's see it. But you and I aren't going to be driving, so I'm delighted to welcome to the stage at this point Oliver Rogers, product manager here at Avantra.
Woo! Ollie, welcome.
Awesome.
Good, so some real stuff we're going to show you today. And first I want to begin with something we call a new feature, which is the add-ins library, right? What we didn't like in Avantra is that previously every user need to go to our support web page, download a workflow package and import to the system, right? And we all agree this can be easier and safer. Be done, let's call it like this. And well, we should now here on screen have the
Yep.
Thanks a lot, production team. So this is Avantra 24, and well, if you look at it, it looks a little bit different than
Looks a
before.
little bit different there, Bernd.
It does, right? So Ollie just logged on to an Avantra 24 system, and yeah, we worked on the UI. That's the short story here. So what we did is, while we are building the new UI, we spent some time reworking on our existing UI to make it look already in the new design language of how the new UI will look like, right? Rome wasn't built in a day, so we still need some time to bring a real new user experience with our new UI. Meanwhile, we thought it was time to bring an update here.
Well, I can tell you, it looks fantastic, and we've shown it to a few customers already, and they really love it.
I do believe our design and front-end team really did a great job here. Okay, but now let's go back to the add-in library. So Ollie is now going to the administration menu, as you see, and he's now choosing the add-ins library. And this is all new, right? So one click, there you go. Here you see all our existing workflow, so the stuff we are already delivering since quite a while to our customers, but as well a lot of new stuff, right? And Ollie can filter here, for example, 24.0. Here you see all the new automations that will come with Avantra 24. Certainly some stuff which is the outcome of the work we do with our friends at Red Hat, where we combine the Red Hat automation platform with Avantra. So there's some things coming here. As well, one of them has already been installed, HANA update, right? So I have a closer look at this one, Ollie. So here you see, when you double-click it, you will see more details about this add-in, right? And you see as well which technical files are actually, or workflows are actually being installed, or in the content, so the object, the content of this package. And
Bernd, just to interject here, I mean, this looks fantastic, but this is an integration, right? Is there a huge amount of prep required to get your Avantra system to get this data, bearing in mind we are obviously on-prem software?
Very good question. Thank you for that one. Absolutely nothing. So the only thing you need is an HTTPS connection to api.avantra.com. Yeah, and we log you on automatically because we have your license, and the license data is automatically used to log you on to the add-in library backend.
That's awesome.
Okay, so hey, this is a new workflow HANA update, so let us have a look. We certainly have prepared something here, workflow execution. So all is now filtering on the HANA log. It's great that you do it now. Previously, I had to do it all myself, right? Okay, and here you see this workflow execution took us 16 minutes to update the HANA software here.
So we'll start it now and we'll watch it all the way through?
Would be a little bit boring, wouldn't it? That's why we prepared this for you. It's like in a cooking show, right? Okay, so here's the sequential loop. So this is something we brought with 23, because there are two SAP systems hosted on this HANA database. Therefore, we need to stop them in a row before we can stop the HANA, update it, and so forth. Okay, ready for you, starting from Avantra 24, HANA upgrade. Now, let us go back to the add-in library one more time, please. And let's choose something new here, because I know that some of our customers are really very interested in applying SAP Hot News and Notes automatically, at least the one which can be applied automatically. Right?
I've definitely heard that one a few times.
Oh, yes.
Hot news comes up. How do I automatically implement it?
How do you automatically implement it? Exactly. And this is what we're going to do right now here live on stage. Yeah? So let us first install the add-in. And it's one button. So the add-in name is called SAP ABAP Corrections Implementation. Ollie's pressing the yes button. And there we go. And here you see as well the name of the content, so the actual workflow is being implemented, because we will go there, BC implement ABAP corrections, this is where we go. In just an instance, but let us before pick a node to be installed. And this is really one of my favorite features, the SAP Hot News. And not only mine, I can tell you, our customers love it as well, right? So since we have this, we've got really tremendous good feedback. And Ollie is already typing a number up here, 329. I can tell you this number, wake me up 2 a.m. in the morning what's the number of the node you're going to present? 32967, but Oli has all in his head anyway. So good. So this is a security problem we see here. It's a denial of service vulnerability in the whole NetWeaver application platform. And this is affecting a lot of systems because it's in the SAP basis component, right? And SAP has released a hot use for this, a digital signed nodes. Now let us install this now using Avantra.
So you're going to actually apply this note to an SAP system automatically, using the workflow we just downloaded, which is a generic workflow. Is that right?
One click, and the workflow is a generic one, but we configure it now live on stage to apply this node. Yeah.
Awesome.
So what Oli is doing now, he's going back to workflows. He filters and upper corrections, and this is exactly the workflow we have just installed via the SAP Nodes add-in. Here you see it, SAP Nodes, version 1.000. Please use it anyway, right? But let us, because I sometimes hear people are aversive against 1.00 versions. Before we do it, let us have a look at it. Go to steps, please. It's a very simple workflow, right? We have complex ones with 60, 70 steps. Meanwhile, the system refresh, this is an easy one. And let us dive into the source code. And this is something I really like. We deliver automations as source code. Yeah? It's not meant that everybody needs to start coding here. But if you want to see what's going on, and sometimes I really like to see what's going on, and I test myself if I can still read this stuff, at least read it. And what you see here that maybe you highlighted, Oli, we are actually calling an Avantra class. We've written, so it's our own ABAP code to implement this node.
And it's worth remembering as well, so we don't just do this so that folks know exactly what we're doing, although we love that folks know that. It's so that if there's something special, if there's something unique in your environment, and let's face it, we're in the SAP world, so there is, you can extend this. You can copy it, you can change it, you can make it do what you need it to do in your environment.
And I love to hear from clients, and I heard it yesterday again, right? We took your workflow and extended it and changed it and further developed it, right?
And I loved getting that feedback. In fact, there's a member of the audience at the moment who sent me an email not 2 weeks ago with loads of feedback on system refresh on what he'd like to see tweaked. Fantastic stuff.
I love to know about this.
I'll forward it to you.
And maybe this is a good time to talk about ideas.avantra.com.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and actually, so one of the other add-ins that's listed in the store that I could see there is the hotly anticipated certificate update one, which will automatically replace certificates in an SAP system. The genesis of that entire automation came from ideas.avantra.com, and that is amazing to see customer idea through to us actually delivering it in a few months.
And it will actually go to this guy looking at all your ideas, right? Sometimes you need a little bit of patience.
So when we say no, it's his fault, not my fault.
Okay, but now let us finish this first. Let us implement this node. Do you still have the node number in your mind, Oli? Perfect. Okay. So as we just installed it, right? So no configuration, but as you know, with Avantra, you can save configurations. So he has now chosen the dev system. You can as well apply multiple nodes in one step.
Nice.
Yeah. You can add your own transport number. So here we are only using one. This is a node number, and the 6 was the version of the node. And our secret credentials, we don't have to provide them now. We have prepared this. And transport request, we leave blank, and then a transport request will automatically be created, right? That's all we've got to do. That's the whole configuration. I can really say junior people in a help desk or so, they are able to do this once they got approval from the customers. They don't even have to go to the SAP system.
Beautiful.
And now let's press execute. And
that's awesome. So we've literally downloaded a brand new add-in and just used it straight away out of the box. I absolutely love it.
Out of the box.
Bernd, while that's running, it occurs to me that the time savings on this are going to be huge and hugely impactful, considering the number of security notes, hot news that folks have to deal with on a monthly basis.
Yeah, and here we've got a number as well, because the number of hot news SAP releases is increasing all the time.
Of course,
right?
As with all software companies.
Yeah, I think there were 100, do you know the number? 190?
190 in 2022.
So 190, not all of them were, that's a hot news, but hot use and security nodes together, 190.
Yeah, and that doesn't count all the other ones that are still corrections that still need to be put in and are still digitally signed and therefore valid in this case.
Exactly. You see, it's done, right? So let us click on the, I'm notoriously skeptical. I'm a German engineer, right? But this one has actually worked. By the way, I'm a trustful person. You believe me that this node has not been in the system before, right? So we really skipped this step, going to the SAP system, showing you it's not there, and now going to the SAP system, now it is there, you believe me.
We wanted
right?
45 minutes for this demo, they only gave us 20, so, you know.
It's marketing's fault, right? Okay, so this node has been successfully implemented, and the transport request has been created, and I can tell you, behind the scenes, I already get this feedback from customers. Now you need to have the automation to further bring this into other systems. I think the right people in the audience have heard this. Okay, let us move on. And one more time, Ollie, go back to the add-ins library, because there's really some nice more content we're going to release with Avantra 24.
Absolutely.
And Brandon already mentioned it. It is the SAP certificates renewal. And if you open this one, you will see that there are 4 scenarios available, right? 2 of them are end-to-end. End-to-end means that this workflow is fed by an observation automation. Let's call it check. Okay, let's call it check. So a check is bringing a critical alert. The certificate is about to expire. And then the idea is to connect a workflow to this, which then goes to the CA. Certificate authority will download or grab the new certificate and install it automatically. This is what we're aiming for.
Fantastic.
With end-to-end. Both now available for the ABAP application server and the web dispatcher.
And actually, there's a point I want to make here, because with ideas.avantra.com, which I mentioned is the source of this one, it's not just if you have an idea. You can also vote on other ideas. And obviously what brought this one to our attention, I think Ollie called me one day and said, there's a few votes on the certificate automation one, and it was going up and up and up and up and up. So please do review the ones that are there, talk to other users of Avantra, and vote on the ones that are important to you, because that's how Bernd, myself, and Ollie will talk about them and prioritize them.
Absolutely. Okay, so let us move on, because we have more news. The next thing is we're going to show you, some of you might have already spotted it, right? Because it is in the administration menu as well. People are really building amazing stuff with our workflow engine, right? As I said, they're taking the work of ours, changing it, combining it, and so forth. And what they really want to do is have better control of what they're doing, right? And that's why now with Avantra 24, we bring repositories, Git repositories to Avantra, so our users, especially our power users, can build more sophisticated stuff in an, let's say, enterprise-style way with source control and versioning and all this kind of stuff. Some of them run ISO 27001, as we do, right? So they have to do this. So let us go there, repositories, and here we've got a sandbox set up.
Ah, a sandbox. That's the only place they allow you and I to play these days, isn't it?
Because I'm so rusty programming, right?
Yeah, that's
and I could damage something.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure.
We'll go with that.
Sure thing. Yeah, and by the way, it's as well the right place when you grab code from ChatGPT and then put it in.
Yeah,
this is what I'm doing.
Oh yeah.
Yes, I'm smart. I'm not coding myself anymore. So, okay. Here you see such a repository being set up, and we've given you a demo. For example, that's a user, so an automation, one of our automations from the user management space. And Ollie, if you click on this smart,
nice.
Here you see the difference, right? So that's a nice.
So you get the full difference
nice
of what's changed since this was last
before
committed.
You commit, before what do you expect?
Brilliant.
But you can as well work now with a favorite EDI. To edit these JavaScript code and then commit and simply pull it then to Avantra.
I can go back to using VI. It's perfect.
Yeah. You possibly. What's your favorite IDE?
Nano.
EDI? Oh. Okay.
No, IDE, VS Code, but if I'm in Linux, it's got to be Nano.
Okay. Good. So this is our new repository integration. I think this is really great news for power users. By the way, it introduces as well a new concept which is called the namespaces. Namespaces are pretty important. Is introduced at 23.3.
Yep.
Better watch out for our Avantra YouTube video channel.
Absolutely.
Where we give more details on how to work with the new namespace.
Yep.
Because this decouples the creation and maintenance of workflows with the permissions to execute them. That's quite interesting.
Absolutely. And Bernd, myself, and the rest of the customer office team, we're going to be working on new mastering Avantra videos coming over the next few months as we head towards the release of Avantra 24.
Exactly. So, that was Avantra 24 in a nutshell, right?
I mean, we covered so much.
Yeah, so you've seen the add-in library, right? You've seen a few new, very sophisticated workflows we're going to release with Avantra 24. Certificate update, HANA, SAP Notes implementation we have presented live. You've seen the improved workflow logic and the UI, right?
Yep.
We as well will have, for example, parallel loops with Avantra 24, so we can run in parallel on thousands of systems.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we are as well bringing a lot of improvement in this space. And we've seen the source code management.
Yep.
Good integration.
But let me ask the question that folks in the audience and folks at home are going to be asking, when do we get our hands on Avantra 24?
Avantra 24 will be available November. Now that's a running gag in our company. This year, right? we had.
I was going to hold you to it. Which year were you talking about? Coming November 2023.
When you talk to developers and always tell them the year.
Yes.
When you will in November? 24, 25. No. This year.
Awesome.
Okay.
Brilliant. Thank you for showing us Avantra 24, Bernd. Now, I said at the start of the summit that we might have a couple of surprises, and we do have one more thing we do want to talk about. So tell us a little bit more.
Yes, so this idea is floating around in our heads since years, I have to say.
Super exciting.
So Avantra, as it is today, does a lot of great things. 260 billion checks, a lot of observability automation, then the workflow automation. However, we do believe that you still need to be a bit knowledgeable in the SAP space to use all this stuff, right?
I mean, I've had that conversation with Matthias as an example, where one of their goals is to make sure that their more junior resources are doing as much as they can on their own without necessarily involving senior resources. And it's the same for large enterprises.
This is exactly it, Brendan, right? So we have our documentation solution space, but we can do better, we believe. And today, we're going to introduce a whole new offering, right? The journey will begin next year, and we call it Avantra Air. So Avantra Air stands for AI Responder, right? And this is an intelligence extension to the product.
A SaaS extension.
SaaS extension, we have to say. It will deliver incredible insights, content, a lot of context to your Avantra world.
But let's get a little bit more specific, because we're talking in kind of generics and quite general there. Give me an example of a scenario where Avantra Air would play a part.
Yeah, let's talk about a business level scenario. For example, RISE, you're on RISE, right? You would still be responsible for some of the things, or a lot of the things going on in your SAP system.
Well, you never give up control or responsibility for your business processes, order to cash, et cetera, et cetera.
And here we see a part of these business processes, number ranges. Can be annoying if they are expired. Here you see an observation. This is what Avantra already has today.
Oh, yeah, out of the box, absolutely.
Since quite a while now. It's being used by quite some customers. And what we see here is more detail, context. We explained it much better. We explained what you can do. And are there any automations available to fix it, maybe automatically?
Fantastic.
Which in this use case might not be the best
No,
idea.
but there are other use cases like versions being out of date, et cetera, where, let's say, or even let's take the CVE as an example. Hey, you've got hot news that applies to this system, and hey, you can go and install an add-in, provide the note number, and automatically implement that. I mean, that's huge. And to be guided on that is the whole point.
Exactly. So we want to as well have more stuff with Avantra Air, being more proactively analyzing your landscape, telling you about security alerts, proactively tell you components are out of date. So a lot in security space, of course. Smart maintenance suggestions. So we figured out the system is not heavily used during this time.
Sure.
We recommend you to apply these updates. Shall we automatically plan it for you and all these kind of things, right? Better root cause analysis, anomaly detection. There's so many things. So I hope my guys listened well to what we all announced today.
Awesome. Bernd, thank you so much for taking us through Avantra Air. I can tell you that Avantra Air will be available as a technical preview during the middle of next year and becoming GA to customers towards the end of next year to purchase. So I'm really excited about where we're going with this. Bernd, I enjoy these sessions so much. I hope you guys enjoyed them as well. Thank you so much for joining me on stage and talking about Avantra 24 and Avantra Air.
Welcome. Thanks. Thanks for your attention.
Thanks, Bernd. Brilliant. So what's going to happen now is there's going to be some changes happening behind me. There's going to be a furniture change, very exciting. And it gives me an opportunity to tell you about what's coming next. So up next, we have the panel, where we're going to be welcoming back some of the people you've seen already here today. But it's a good time for those of you at home to drop any questions that have come up that you want to get answered into that chat box, and they're going to end up here on my iPad. That's why I'm holding it. For those of you in the audience, we're going to have a microphone. We're going to have somebody walking around. So if you want to ask a question, please put up your hand, and we'll try our best to get to you as well. So without further ado, I'm going to welcome back our panelists. I'd like to start with welcoming back Emily Wall from Scott's Miracle-Gro. Welcome back, Emily. Thanks, Emily. Next, I'd like to welcome back John Appleby, CEO of Avantra. Welcome back, John. And of course, I'd like to welcome back Matthias Lang from UMB. And finally, someone we've not yet met, but we've talked about. I'd like to welcome to the stage Wolfgang Bausch, Global Head of the SAP Business at our partner Red Hat. Welcome, Wolfgang. Great to have you here. Awesome. Right, so let's go ahead and get started. Thank you all for coming back to agreeing to be part of this panel. I know it can be a little bit intimidating to have any question being asked, but I promise I'll do my best to moderate and to go softly on you. So I'm going to start with John and give him a hard question. So John, in your keynote, you talked about RISE and the options that exist for customers, which seem unlimited in a lot of cases. So it begs the question, what does the future look like, and is it really hybrid?
Yeah, I mean, that's not a hard question, Brenton.
Okay, I'll try better.
But no, yes, the future's already here. It's not that unevenly distributed, and for almost all enterprises, it is already hybrid. I mean, at Avantra, we run a mix of hyperscalers and a bunch of SaaS applications. That's a version of hybrid. You know, I talk to other customers that are running large on-premises ERPs and a bunch of SaaS applications. So every business has their version of hybrid. What's important to the end customer, though, is to figure out what does it look like for them? What does their version of hybrid look like? Because to your point, there are absolutely endless different ways of doing it. And I believe only by careful thought and analysis and prioritization. You know, maybe you've got a great relationship with Amazon, you've got a massive discount, that totally changes the picture. Maybe you're really paranoid about security, and and those, by the way, the hyperscalers are your competition, and then that's going to drive the decision. So each company is individual and has to make the decision that's right for them.
I couldn't agree more, and actually you and I were talking backstage before this, and you would still consider the whole RISE concept, being on RISE, to be a hybrid scenario in the majority of cases. Isn't that fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, RISE looks different for each customer. I mean, you can run it in each hyperscaler. By the way, pretty soon you're going to be able to run it on-prem. Yeah. And to have that stack come back onto your own, I'm hearing about those contracts starting to exist. and so it's already different for every business. So RISE is implicitly hybrid because you end up with a hyperscaler. You probably end up with a bunch of on-prem or other hyperscaler ERP stuff anyway, and stuff that isn't supported by RISE and is not on RISE. Yep. And then you end up with all those SaaS applications again.
Awesome. I'm going to change tack slightly, and Emily, I'm going to come to you next. And that was a fantastic run-through that you took us through of your journey and your story with Tyler earlier, so thank you for that.
Sure.
So I want to get your perspective on that term, hybrid. What does it mean for Scots, And what's your plan? And maybe from a people perspective and from a system perspective.
Sure. Well, start with people. We're hybrid still at Scott's. I think most corporations are,
Yep.
right? Through
It's not
COVID,
going away.
no, not anytime soon, and that's fine. Through the COVID years, we found talent outside of Central Ohio, so been great benefit to us by having that. So I think for the foreseeable future, it'll remain hybrid, kind of hire where you are based on the talent that we need, which is great for all of us. As far as systems, so we run HANA ECC in the cloud. So Rise is going to be a stretch because we're pretty sophisticated in our operations there, and based on the 100-plus page document that SAP has on all the stipulations of
143.
how it works, I think we'll actually be taking a step backwards at Scott's if we go to Rise. So while we're still having some technical conversations between SAP and ourselves to understand is there really value in it that we're just not seeing? We need to kind of put a bow on that and make that decision and continue to move forward in that S/4HANA journey. So,
so that's the future.
That's where we are.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
And Matthias, I'm going to come to you next, if that's okay. And I think at UMB you have a wonderfully diverse portfolio. So I think you probably see this more than anybody else in terms of your customer base and what you're seeing from a demand standpoint. How are you approaching those unlimited options that the customers have, and from on-prem, hybrid, Rise? What's your approach?
Well, I think for us or for our customer, it's important that we have the nearly connection, the face-to-face connection to the customer, so that we can flexibly bring a solution if there are problems pops up.
Yep.
I think that's the most case. It's for our side interesting, and what the customer also like to have. So I told before, hey Joe, it's not a joke, it's really, hey Joe, we have a problem here.
Yes.
Give us support, and this is what we can provide. We can provide in on-prem side, on the hyperscaler of course, on Rise, it's a showstopper, but also on Rise we have also some customer. And what we are doing here, it's to manage the tickets, look is the right content in, and planning the activities. And there is important, one activity, one ticket. So never create a ticket with 2 questions, you will get only one answer.
I think my team who are in the audience would probably agree with you on that one.
Yeah, that's the life.
Yep. Absolutely. Wolfgang, I'd like to bring you into the conversation at this point. And I mean, we have a fantastic partnership between ourselves and yourself, and we're doing some amazing things with that Ansible integration. And I'm loving the work that's going on to harmonize that. Do you want to speak for a moment on that partnership, your perspective on it, and kind of where we're heading with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks a lot. And maybe let me start with our customers, what I'm hearing from them and seeing in the market. So in the market, I think there's that ever-increasing pace of change. New products, you need to bring out, adopt new technologies, then you've got new competitors coming up in each and every day, then we've got all the political and economical crises. So the top 3 that I'm hearing from your colleagues is really, we need to get more innovative, we need to work on our competitive advantages. Number 2 is, but we also need to take care about cost, we need to increase our efficiency and really protect our margin. Number 3 that I'm hearing is really, we need to manage somehow the talent and skill gap. And the latest IDC study shows, it was from IDC, released that all the global companies will be affected by that challenge in 2025. So it's now time to react. And not acting is not an option, because that will probably cost you 20% of your growth, while investing into that area will help you with 40% of productivity. So that's it. Now, how does automation play into that? And automation ticks all of the boxes. It's kind of the Swiss Army knife, really the tool that helps you to tackle cost, to tackle efficiency, to tackle the talent gap, all of it. And this is where we're working closely together. So we're really providing our customers a much broader, complete, and I would say a powerful automation solution for the complete SAP environment. In fact, what we're providing is a single pane of glass to manage the complete SAP and infrastructure that makes it much easier then. And let me give you a couple of examples what that means. So on one side, it really helps them to accelerate migration to HANA, S/4HANA, and we do that by providing you a programmatic approach that you can use to provision and configure those systems according to the SAP rules, of course, but also help you to rapidly replicate data to the new environments, easily and quickly move SAP workloads to new environments. Second is then really how automation can help to speed up processes, to drive in more agility, but at the same time, make sure that you've got the consistency and the reliability in everything that you're doing. So automation really helps with standardizing, provisioning, and configuring. And by the way, not just on the server, but we're talking about network, storage, security, application, so all of it. And I think some good examples and use cases that we have how to accelerate that is really automating your system refresh, automating the patch of the OS, and also enable auto-scaling for your infrastructure. So these are things that we're doing, and a couple of more are in the works. Can talk about that later if there's still time. And all of that helps you to redirect your teams to more valuable strategic initiatives that you have in there. Because you can also use automation, of course, to drive automation in all the manual, repetitive tasks that are still in each and every company, as I see. And that not just helps you with the productivity of your teams then, but it also helps you to drive in more loyalty of the employees, motivation, and therefore also retention. So ticking off that box as well.
Absolutely, and I love the fact that you wore that T-shirt, Matthias, because it's all about the creation of time. It's exactly what you're describing there, and I absolutely love that. And the integration from our automation engine along with Ansible, really those possibilities become endless, and that's what's truly exciting, I think, about what our teams are working on. It's absolutely fantastic. Thank you for that.
So I think it's really about, in a nutshell, and with all of that, we're really helping you to focus more on the innovation, drive those transformation processes, because this is really driving the big value to customers. Thanks.
Absolutely. Of course. I'm going to change track ever so slightly, though, because I have a new question which has come in. So, Emily, this one's coming in for you, and it's about your automation journey and how you automated your IT operations. And specifically, the question is, what were the highs and the lows on that journey that you'd like to share with this audience?
Well, we'll start with the highs, right? With any automation comes business efficiencies. So obviously that is the end result once we got through that. But I mean, with any new automation, I think in my mind, you start out with some hiccups because you're trying to figure out how to really make it work, especially with each system's being unique. So the lows is the stumbling until you get there. But once you're there, it definitely pays off. So I think it's typical with any type of automation you're putting in place.
Absolutely. At the end of the day, and it goes back to what I was saying earlier with Bernd, there's no such thing as a standard SAP landscape because it integrates with so many different things. You configure it a specific way to make sure your business is operating to the best it can be. So it has to be tuned. It has to be tweaked. That's awesome. Thank you. Matthias, maybe I'll ask you the same question. You've been on this journey as well. Highs and lows?
Highs and lows. Of course, the reports that this process is completely running automatically. This was easily to implement because we was not depends with the hardware infrastructure. It's easy. The lows, we are starting now to implement automation on OS patching, something like that. So it's easy in a standard structure environment, but we have customer systems.
And they're all different.
Therefore, we have to clean up to bring the standard into the systems. And after them, I will say that's then easy to implement this kind of sexy automation.
What I like there is the parallel between your two journeys. It's about, there are stumbles, but when you get there, then you can enjoy bliss that is automation. That's not a catchphrase that I want to catch on. But anyway. Emily, I'm going to come back to you one more time, if that's okay. And I want to talk about your strategic initiatives in your role. You know, that's front of mind. What's the next big thing for you that's super exciting at Scott's?
Well, two big things, one exciting, one not so much, which obviously we've been talking about S4 a lot, right? So that's just going to be a large undertaking. Exciting because I think it's going to provide new capabilities to the business that they might not have today. But so that's one thing that we'll be focusing on over the next 3 to 4 years. But in addition to that, I know Gen AI is the buzz around everywhere, but we've actually already started diving in head first there. We're looking to build an app that is, our consumers get their hands on, take pictures of plants or weeds or whatever it might be. It'll recognize it. It'll tell you what products to care for, how to treat the weed if you're trying to kill something. So we're trying to figure out what that looks like at Scott's and starting to train our large language models to recognize that. And it's going to be a journey, but it's going to be an exciting one.
I'm going to be your first customer on that one because my wife would say I don't have green fingers, so I would definitely need the help.
I need it as well. So
awesome. I'll be your beta tester. It's all good. Fantastic. I have one final question I want to ask all the panelists, but I'm going to pause for a second and just double check to see if there's any questions in the audience. Feel free to raise your hand if you do have a question that you want to ask, and we can get a microphone over that direction. Okay, we've one over here on the left. Just getting the microphone over that direction.
We can hear him.
So why don't you just yell it out, and I'll repeat the question for those on the stream.
Tim Rice, my question is probably more for Matthias and John around BTP. I'm wondering if you think that in the SAP ecosphere, do you think the users understand what BTP is? Do they understand the impact that it has, and really how to manage and maintain that
A BTP environment. Awesome. So I'm going to repeat that question. Thank you for that question, Tim. So for Matthias and for John, the question is, from a BTP standpoint, do you feel like it's well understood in the user base about how to use it, how to manage it, and all of the impacts that come with using BTP? Who wants to go first? John, you go first.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'll tell the story from that a customer told me because I think it tells it beautifully. And when we first met on this topic, it was probably 3 years ago, but I might be wrong. It might have been before COVID. I don't know. But he said, "I've got a real problem." He said, "I've got 2 million of shelfware of BTP." He's like, "I overbought. Finance are really mad at me. We can't get it to work, and I'm in trouble." And then when I met with him this year and said, "How's BTP going now?" He's like, "Massive user, one of the biggest users, all of these extension things, it works now, we're getting value out of it." So I think, the answer, at least in his eyes, from that particular customer was, well, people are kind of growing into it. And when you've got these extension use cases, and by the way, BTP's grown into that because the original SAP HANA Cloud Platform was intended to be a general purpose compute platform.
Right.
And BTP is now very much focused on extension use cases. I've got my clean core, and I want to build this app that has this bit of functionality that gets you a piece of business process from A to B, some pricing analysis or whatever that particular function is. BTP is really good for that.
Awesome. Matthias, any perspective?
We have not collected right now too much of experience in that area. It's a starting process on the customer side.
Yep.
What I can tell you is always that the connection problems there sometimes exist.
Yep.
Then it's the communication, and then it's clear from the question point of view. There is not a clear picture on which situation is the problem exists.
Yep.
And we have to find out together, and that helps with the HO. So.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Any other questions from the audience? No? Awesome. So I'm going to move on to my final question, and I'm going to go around the horn, and I'm going to finish with John on this one. So Wolfgang, I'm going to start with you, if that's okay. What are your key takeaways from today? 30 seconds on what you want this audience to be thinking about from your perspective on everything you've heard.
30 seconds. So I think the key thing is that complexity, technology complexity will continue to grow. And automation, like we provided as a platform, really has shown that it can speed up things, that it can provide the agility and deliver and optimize business results. So therefore, I think the power of the two platforms is something to consider, and maybe the move to HANA and S/4HANA is the right moment in time to fully embrace the platforms.
Nice. And I think that was within 30 seconds, so thank you
Yes.
for that. That's awesome. Matthias, on to you.
From my side, a company like UMB, we provide poor, basic, sub-basic support. And for us, it's important to bring this service together with the customer in a short way to solve the coming and the upcoming problems more and more. And I think it's always fine and good that the communication is started, by the way.
Yeah. Awesome. Emily?
I would say for me and where we are at Scott's, as we continue to reduce staff, the more automation we can do, the more relief it's going to bring to who's still there. So I think a little bit of what was announced today will allow us to gain value from. We need to get into that patching automation that we're starting to look at, and I think some things from today will help that. But so I would just say continue to look where we can for additional automation to reduce hands-on keyboards every day.
Continue the automation journey. I love it. John, any final words?
Yeah, I'm going to repeat myself because why not?
Why not?
Yeah. I mean, the future is hybrid. It's already there. Customers need to think about what is going to work for them. Don't listen to the vendors and the consultants that have all got some agenda. Like, come in and look at it stone cold and say, what do I need? And then point number 2, from what does the business objectives, what's the strategy, and how do we support IT? How do we then understand what we need for us based upon our business's objectives? And then thirdly, as IT people, it's incumbent upon us to get up the stack.
Absolutely.
And understand that from a business perspective. Because until you look at it through that lens, you don't know. I mean, maybe the system is in the corner and it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And it can just be left there. And somebody turn it on once a year to get some audit documents out. Or maybe that system in the corner is holding up the whole of the air traffic in the United States.
or the UK, if all those recent stories.
Yep.
Thank you, John. Great advice. And so what I want to say at this point is thank you all of you for joining us here today. It really has been a fantastic discussion and a fantastic program of events. If there's any outstanding questions, and I can see there were a few more, unfortunately we don't have the time to cover them right now, but we will follow up with them later. But for now, from the Black Forest, thank you for joining us. Well done. All of you who are sitting here, you are more than welcome to join us now out in the bar for a couple of drinks and a couple of nibbles, and we'll be more than happy to talk to you out there, and you'll see the rest of the panelists as well. They'll be milling around as well. Thank you so much for being in the audience today. We really appreciate it.